Hey Bloom fam, I'm Tay.
I'm Tosh.
And we are Living the Bloom.
Bloom.
Today we are excited to have our first special guest of 2025, my dear friend Tia Gibson.
Yay, hey Tia.
Yes, we are so excited to have
I
you.
just thought about his 3 T's today.
It is.
Tay, Tasha,
Tay,
Tia.
Tasha,
Yes.
Tia.
Love it. Love
We are
it.
the trifecta, girl. I love that. So we are going to be talking about the challenges of motherhood, right? And you and I met about 9-10 years ago now. And one of the first experiences I had of you as a mother was I called you and said, hey, I need help with my house. And you designed my house. And you said, I will call you back after my baby's 5th birthday party. And you called me back that same night after KK's 5th birthday. And we have been friends ever since. And so of all of the friends that I have that are mothers, I would say that you are one of the ones that have influenced me the most as a mother, because we are parenting children that have a lot of similarities in terms of their personality, in terms of their level of empathy, and in terms of the challenges that we encounter. So I think we have talked and laughed and cried and all the things. And you have been a great resource for me as a mother. And so I'm so glad that you're here to talk to us about your motherhood journey.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yes. So your grandmother passed away in April of last year.
Yes.
And it was beautiful sitting there watching you talk on behalf of your family about the impact that she had on your family, but most importantly, you, not only as a woman, but as a mother. And so if you don't mind, could you share a little bit about how your grandmother and even your mom shaped the mother that you are?
Yes. So, my grandmother was a wife, a mom, and a hairstylist. And so she, a lot of things were caught and not necessarily taught. And I saw her really try to balance every level of her life, including herself. And so she has one sister who is actually still living. She's 100. Then she had 2 girls, my mom and my aunt. And then my mom had 2 girls, so me and my sister, and then I had 2 girls. So it's 4 generation of sisters, which is very unique.
That is awesome. That is so awesome.
Don't know what God was doing or is doing, but that's what we have. And with that, it's the baby daughter that has the children. The oldest daughter does not have children, which is also unique.
In every generation,
in every single generation, in all 4 of the generations. So it's just unique to kind of see how not just balancing being a wife, a mother, a business owner, but also just being a sister. And being a friend, and all the facets of that a woman goes through in the different seasons of life. And I think for my grandmother, what she really exhibited to me was taking care of yourself in the midst of taking care and serving others. And I think that was something that was lost when it got down to the next generation. I feel like my mom really sacrificed a lot of herself in order to serve us and to serve others. And so as it, the baton pretty much got passed to me, it was just something that I really was just hypersensitive to, and trying to figure out where my point was of, okay, I have got to take care of myself, because if I don't do that, then I cannot take care of the people that I love. And I just think my grandmother, for whatever reason, she was good at that. And she demonstrated, being able to have her spiritual time. She demonstrated, loving your man, without any apologies. She demonstrated like these kids, like, I'm gonna come have lunch with you. I'm gonna come to your program. I'm gonna do all things. But even her job was serving others. She was a hairstylist. So it's just like her whole life was serving others, but I still saw her serve herself well. She was 98 when she passed, in her right mind, and she will say to my mother and to me, like, you need to take care of yourself. Are you looking good today? You getting some sleep? You exercising? Yes. Well, what do you do for you? And I just think that somehow along the way, and maybe just hustle culture, life is more expensive. It's more demanding. Yeah. My mom always says that she could never have mothered in this culture because it's so many eyes on you. Yes. We are rearing children in a time that we really want to tell people how to do everything. And that has been my biggest stance with my girls, is like, we gonna do us.
You have to, because every household is different.
Yes, every child is different. Every parent is different. Yes, how I want to mother is going to be different, and that doesn't make it right or wrong.
Right, it's just different. It's
different, and learning to respect those differences and knowing and recognizing that your kid needs something different and that you need something different.
So one thing I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So one thing you hit on was Granny would always talk to you about, what are you doing for you? So I just want to celebrate you, because last year was your year of 40.
Yes.
And you said, I felt like new boundaries for how you were going to go into your 40th year. So can you tell, and you accomplished a lot.
Yes, I did.
For you.
Yes.
Not as a mother, not as Brandon's wife, but for Tia. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So I turned 40 July 3rd. And as I went into the 40th year, it was like, okay, now I'm shifting to having a high schooler. I'm shifting into having a daughter that's coming out of elementary, going into middle school. I'm in like a more advanced level of motherhood with both of them. And I want to be able to be the type of wife and spend the time in nurturing my marriage so that when they're long gone, that's good as well. And so I just felt the need that it was time to just make a pivot in doing that. So I set a goal of 40 days on the water. So that's my happy place. I like to be on a beach. I don't have to be in the water. I don't need to swim with the dolphins. I just need to
just be
in the water.
Yeah, that's relaxing.
My feet in the sand and read a book. And so my goals were 40 days on the water, read 40 books, 40 weeks of exercise.
Okay.
40 days social media fast. And that was it. Yep, that was it. So
40 days just cumulative. It not back, or was it 40 days straight? Not 40 days straight. No. Just 40 days in the year.
Entire year.
To do 40 days.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
that's neat.
So I opted out of like having a party and all that, because I said, by the time I spend the money on the party, I could spend the money in investing in myself.
Exactly.
And I said, this is really something that I need to be able to reset and recharge. And it's really hard to grab that time. And so you almost really need to be gone.
Yeah.
You have to be gone.
So that you're not getting pulled in, especially, as a business owner, and when you have your hands in multiple hats and you are present with your children and all the things. So, when I presented Brandon with this, he said, "Oh, okay, all right. Is this all at one time?" Kind of like
right.
I was like, "Do you plan on being away for like a month and 10 days? Like, just I want to support you, but like, just help a brother out.
How we gonna do
know
this?
What my role is, And I said, no, like it'll be mini breaks. Like I can't be gone for 40 days away from y'all, but I just want mini breaks. Wonderful, relaxing trips. Like they were not trips where it was like we need to have an agenda. Like. Nothing.
Yeah, I hate trips like that. Don't invite me if you're trying to be moving. Like, I ain't trying
a schedule at home. I can't be on a schedule on vacation.
And I don't want to be tired from the vacation.
Yes.
Like, don't invite me.
No, because it's like that at home. So I don't want to do that when I'm supposed to be relaxing. So I cannot believe I pulled it off. My 40th day was New Year's Eve. And it's really still surreal that I actually pulled it off.
You were talking about how your grandmother, when it was caught, not taught.
Yes, yes.
And I've had this conversation with other friends, and it's just like our parents didn't have to tell us anything. No. We just knew. Yeah. So I was going to ask, how has that been different with your girls? Like, was there a period where you were just expecting them to know because that's what you did? Or
I think that I did not expect them to know certain things. I think I'm big on communication. And so I do think that I probably, if you ask any of my friends, I have probably had more transparent conversations with my children than maybe what others would be comfortable with at their ages.
Oh, you have.
Don't ask me why. It might just be, I feel like the world is so different.
Yes, and you have to talk to them.
And I did not want to shy away from hard things. I wanted to make sure that they did not feel like I was shielding, but that I was preparing.
I love that.
And so, yeah, a lot of my friends would be like, what? Girl, you said that. You talked to her about
but
that.
The reality is they learn it a lot earlier than what parents realize.
Yeah.
And
I want you to learn it right.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I want you to talk to me about it, and let me give you the truth, because there's so much untruth out there, and a lot of things are exaggerated, and a lot of things are just made and they're packaged, so nicely. And I also want you to understand that you are an African American female, and in an environment where you may be the only one in a lot of your life. And so that has been something else that has been difficult to navigate, is, just parenting in a different tax bracket than I grew up in.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Because the other day, or I'm going to say a couple months ago, we were having some challenges with one of my children. And I was like, I don't understand, like, why we're going through this thing with him. And my mom said, baby, I came to your house and I realized that child has never lived outside of a gated community. Every home.
You got some privileged children.
I have some privileged children.
Yes.
She said, you brought him home in a gated community. You brought him home and he had his own bedroom and bathroom. Yeah. I didn't have my own bathroom until I was 17. Exactly. Like, I shared it not only with my brother, but with any and everybody that came to my home. Right. We had two bathrooms in the whole house. Right. And so hearing that from her, I was like, okay, he doesn't understand that this is not normal, right? He doesn't understand that having the number of bathrooms in the home that we have, that's not normal, that every child has their own.
And we can't punish them for that.
And you can't punish them, but it is hard trying to raise grateful and not entitled children.
Absolutely.
And
The Price of Privilege is a book I recommend. The Price of Privilege.
The Price of Privilege.
I read it this year.
Yeah.
It's a little outdated time-wise, but all the principles are still, there. It was very eye-opening to read that. So we grew up where you just do better than the next generation, like the past generation, like you just push. My now 13-year-old has anxiety about where do I go from here.
Like, really? She's already thinking about that?
Yeah. The pressure. And you know what? I have always had seasons of making them rewatch is The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Because I felt like now watching it as a parent, I'm Claire.
You are Claire.
I'm Claire.
You are
Claire.
So Claire.
She didn't mess around.
Caitlin is Vanessa.
Carrington is Rudy.
Oh,
She is. Yes.
That is y'all.
And so it's an exercise right now.
It is.
I am pausing and I'm calling people in at different scenes.
Yes.
And
That
I'm like,
is
Brandon,
so good.
look, we parent very humorous, you know. We parent like you're renting.
Yes.
You know.
Y'all do.
And
like you don't have any money.
Yes.
We have money, but you don't.
That's
Yes.
right. And also parenting of like knowing our places, right? Knowing our lanes and being able for you to respect that. Teaching the kids to respect that. Teaching the kids to respect the marriage. Teaching them to respect their role in this family.
Yeah.
Teaching them to respect their role in the home and their contribution to the home. And so it's challenging. It is very challenging, but I do think that with maturity, the older that they get, I definitely feel like for Caitlin, she sees it, and that's why she feels this pressure, but it's unwarranted anxiety. Like, I don't want her to feel that way, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she feels like, I just want to make sure that all the sacrifices and all the things that you all have done for me, that you turn to the other side and feel like, man, like she did what she was supposed to do with it. Because our parents feel that way, you know, and so she's older now, and so she's starting to think like that.
And I think that she's always thought more advanced than her age.
For sure.
I feel like similar to Nolan, who is my oldest son, they are a lot alike. They think about things, even when Nolan was in therapy. The guy said, he's 8, but I feel like I'm talking to a 13-year-old. And he was like, and then I feel like if I talk to him like he's 8, then he's going to be like, why are you talking to me?
Exactly.
Because he thinks about things that at the time 8-year-olds were not thinking about. He was like, this kid is thinking about other things. Caitlin is similar.
The therapist calls this future tripping.
Yes.
Like, let's not, you know, but we can go so far ahead that we're going too far. Like, and really exercising and practicing reframing and bringing you back into the moment.
To right now. To the now.
To this moment.
Because they worry about things that are like, okay, when I get older, okay, can I move into that rental property and then I'll save my money and then I'll
trying to map it out.
And it's like, whoa, can we just graduate from like can we just
can you get out the 5th grade?
Can you get out of middle school? Right? Like, why are we But that is what that's how he thinks. That's how Caitlin thinks.
And they can't help it. It's actually a gift, right? You know, I mean, it's not negative, it's just different. And so
how do you manage that?
How do you manage that? Because honestly, I'm glad you got some of that. You know,
that you're thinking forward, thinking about your future.
That's it's gonna do you so much good when you get out into the right world and you're on your own. But some things I'm like, but that's for the adults to think. Like, I don't want you to be a child, because trust me, there's plenty of time for you to have to worry about all of those things. But managing that, because you don't want to stifle some of the things that, you know, may come up. But at the same time, because the anxiety is there and the expectations that these kids have on themselves, I just think it's more than what we dealt with. And so I'm just very cognizant of, I just need you to like put a boundary. This is what we gonna worry about. This is what we gonna do. And then like we can move on to the next thing, you know?
So about the anxiety, right? Tell us about your experience with anxiety and mental health challenges for you and Brandon, and then how that has impacted your girls with their anxiety.
Absolutely.
And that experience.
So, you know, growing up, especially like our generation, I didn't know I had anxiety, you know, like I just fell in line. Controlled what I could control. I created boundaries for myself. But that was the way I dealt with my anxiety. Now being on the other side of it and being grown and being a mom and doing all the things is like, oh, that was anxiety. It just looked differently. Brandon suffers from ADHD and anxiety. and depression. So as we look back just over the course of like college and just graduating from college, trying to find a job, and just we started seeing these patterns of just not feeling like I can hit the mark, like I'm not good enough, like just working on the negative self-talk and all of that. Again, didn't have a name for any of it, just trying to navigate it. We got married early in life, so we had the support of each other. And then we didn't have kids until 5 years into the marriage. So we had some time to kind of navigate some of those bumps together and figure it out. But then you bring a kid into it. And I remember when Brandon took a huge, we went to grad school. Then he decided once he had gotten laid off from his corporate job that he wanted to own a franchise. And fully supported it. I saw my dad own several businesses. I wanted to, support him in his effort to do that. So, of course, that meant I was the breadwinner. I had a corporate job, and then I also owned a tax service, and I did real estate. So I'm doing like 3 things, and he is like getting his hands dirty, working in a franchise restaurant. Just to learn the business. And then he said, I don't want us to wait until like this happens, because there's never like a perfect moment, and it'll be forever before we have kids. Like, let's go ahead and try. And we try, and nothing happens. So now we've opened up this door of feeling more inadequate.
Right.
Right. And why isn't it happening? Why do we need additional support? Why do we need help? Are we really ready for this? Get pregnant, and I'm so sick. Sick, even after having like the medication in order to help, with the infertility. Lots of problems when I was pregnant, difficulty working, just stuff that I never imagined was going to be my journey. I actually broke my ankle when I was pregnant. I fell down some stairs. So I'm like, got all of this going on. And then the baby gets here. And I remember when I brought her home, I'm standing in the nursery. We're both standing over her. And I just bust out into tears. And I say, I don't think I'm ready for this. And Brandon said, well, we can't send her back. So man up. And I was like,
I can hear him saying that too.
I'm not a man. So, oh my goodness, guys, that was like anxiety, hormones, all the things. And I was
just
like,
overloaded.
Overloaded. Like, what have I just done? And everybody's just so happy. And I'm just like, she won't stop crying. She keeps spitting up. Yeah. She's kicking me. She was kicking me when she was in here. She's kicking me when she's out. What is this?
Girl, yeah.
So as my mother says, motherhood is a mother.
It is. Mother.
And it changes from season to season to season.
Yes.
And so Caitlin was difficult to get here. And every season has been a different level of difficulty. But such a gift. I mean, she is wise beyond her years. Yes. She's so just she is an empath, and she's a great student. She cares. And that's something that is hard to teach. So I'm glad that she has it. She's a
wonderful work ethic.
And she loves the Lord. And I mean, I'm grateful for who she is continuing to become, as I attempt to probably talk about things that make her uncomfortable. We have real conversations, and I'm enjoying probably this season of motherhood the most because I'm not her friend, but I feel like I can be more of a sounding board.
Yeah, and that she'll come to you when she needs to.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for that. She's been in therapy since she was in 3rd grade, so she journals. And she gave me her journal from when she was in a hard season, like from 5th grade on through 7th grade. And whew, I was like, wow, okay. but I had to handle it like with care, right? Because she trusted me. She didn't want me to be upset when I read it. But I'm just glad that she had the tools.
Right.
To like, I got to get this out.
Yeah.
I got to write this down.
And she learned that through therapy.
She learned that through therapy. And so, you know, the therapist always tells me like, and she tells Brandon this because Brandon's always very concerned about generational wealth. How are y'all going to be taking care? What if something happened to me tomorrow? Like, you know, we probably overpay in life insurance and all the things, you know.
Which is weird because I have that worry too.
And
now that I
she's
have a
always
child.
like, it's more than just that. Like, this is the legacy. Like, you're showing her that, hey, we can pivot. Hey, it's okay to start over. It's okay that you feel that way. And it's okay to voice that and to do it respectfully and to have a safe space and to journal and to know like this makes me anxious, so I probably need to not do this or I need to give myself more time or I need to ask for help and advocate for myself. That's difficult.
It
you
is.
know, to teach, and because the culture, you just need to fall in line.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of, I just needed you to fall in line.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, get mainstreamed. Everybody got something.
Yeah.
I don't know nobody that don't have anything.
Right.
But that was my fault. Like, I had to tone all of that down and meet her where she was because I got a whole lot further when I met her where she was to get her where I want her to be able to go.
When did you, so you said she has been in therapy since the 3rd grade. What were some of the behaviors that she was displaying where you were like, hey, I need to get her some help? And like this, like old school discipline not working.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure. I think, one, she was very scared of things that you would think like, why are we so scared? Like, you're here with your family, you know, like thunderstorms. I mean, a lot of people don't like thunderstorms or lightning or things like that. So you just think, okay, maybe this is developmental and she'll grow out of it. But when it was, we were locking ourselves in bathrooms and closets, and I was like, whoa, this is a bit much. Like, what's going on here? When she would just cry and at the drop of a hat. And so I'm thinking, okay, I was sensitive as a kid. Maybe she's just a little sensitive. There's more to just being a little sensitive, and this is a deep fear or like you have triggered something in me. And that's hard to really know. And so a lot of times time has to pass for you to see like, okay, this ain't getting no better and I need some help.
yeah.
Like, because what we're doing, like I'm running out of options. Like I've tried all the things. None of these things are working. So I need some help.
Yeah.
And, you know, yelling, like raising my voice, that was something that I grew up with that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't think my parents did anything wrong. It was to get my attention and all the things. But that stimulation is not good for a kid that suffers from anxiety and ADHD. Like she physically cannot handle the raising of my voice, the yelling, like the tone, like, I mean, to the point that now it's like, is this a good time? Because if I know that you've had a long day, I don't want to upset you. Like, let me know a good time that we can talk about something.
Right.
And because now she's old enough and she can speak it and voice it. Like, because I don't want you to respond a certain way. Well, back in the day, I took it as, oh, so now you're going to tell me how I need to respond?
Right.
Like, I'm the mama.
Right.
I can respond however I want to
Right.
respond.
When I want to
That's not
respond. Yeah.
appropriate,
Yeah.
You know? But it is appropriate because I'm the mama. Like, that's what my mama said to me.
Right. Right.
I can be mad. You're not going to make me feel guilty for having an emotion.
Speak. So y'all went and got
Some help.
Yes. You went to parenting classes.
Yes. Grace-based parenting. Well, we actually went to put Caitlin in therapy. And the therapist said, I want to see you and
This
Brandon
was after
for 8 weeks.
after she seen y'all.
Well, what happened was we were offered a job opportunity in Canada. And we were like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put the house on the market. We're going to go lease something until we're ready to go. Like, we were trying to get our ducks in a row, and she lost it on us. I mean, and we probably didn't handle that the best, but we're thinking, she's young. Like, we didn't like sit her down and tell her we finna put the house up for sale.
Right.
Why I need to talk to you
because that's
about
grown folks'
that.
business. That's our business.
But she came home from school and saw the for sale sign. You know, so that wasn't probably the most appropriate thing to do. And then we sold the house to people at the school. So then she on the playground with somebody that's in her pink bedroom now. So it was very traumatizing for the child. You know, hindsight, we didn't handle. That's why we had to go to parenting class. Like, we did not handle that properly. So long story short, we took her to the therapist. Like, look, we had this job opportunity. We going because Brandon and I, like, we are seize the moment type people. We will, you know, flip the script. Like, we're gonna pivot. We're gonna take risks. We're gonna do all the things. And we really didn't adjust when the kids came because we also felt like, oh, they're young, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
People always tell you kids are resilient. You know, yeah, your kids may be
Right.
but your kids don't have anxiety and ADHD.
Right.
Like, so don't tell me.
Like, kids can change. They'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Like, yeah, yours, but I'm dealing with this, you know, and you not up at 2 a.m. when, you know, they scribbling and, you know, Kaylin would paint things that didn't belong to her. So, like, you know, I do yoga, Peloton. She painted my yoga blocks. And I'm thinking, what makes you, why not get some paper? You know, like, why would you grab that?
Yeah.
She would mark on, like, her headboards. She would, I mean, like, this was literally her anxiety. Like, she needed to get it out. And this was her way. Again, she was young. So this is how she did it. And I'm like, you don't respect property. Like, do you know how much this costs?
Right.
Like, what are you? And it was just like, okay, we need some help. Something wrong.
Yes.
You know, and so we really went with the intent of something's wrong with her. I need you to help us fix her. After they observed, you know, her with play therapy, like her with me, her with Brandon, and then us all together. And the lady basically came back and she said, nope, I think I need 8 weeks of you and Brandon together for grace-based parenting. And Brandon said, well, that's not really the plan. Like, we don't really have
He like,
8
fix
weeks.
her, not us. We're
like,
good.
Me and Tia on the same page. We've been married a long time. We don't even really argue, do we, babe? Like, we
joined at
Gucci.
the hip. We
Gucci. Yeah, we Gucci. The problem is her. We were good before she came.
Yeah.
And man, even in that first class, we were like, ooh, we really don't know what we're doing.
Wow. So the
And
first
then
class, y'all
first
recognized
class.
some things, so y'all needed to make some adjustments.
Class, we were like, they did not come with a manual. Like, kids do not come with a manual. And we learned a lot in those 8 weeks. And we completely changed our parenting style from how we were parented to parenting at her
child
level and what she needed. Then had to make another adjustment when the second child came.
Yeah.
That's completely different than her.
Yes.
And so that and realizing she watched how we were parenting this one.
Correct.
And so that plays a part into even her behaviors and what she's demonstrating. And so a lot of times you learn most about yourself through your kids. At least Brandon and I have. And so I knew, okay, yeah, I had anxiety growing up. And I just wanted to fall in line. I was just going to make straight A's. I was just going to mind my business. I was going to stay in my room. I wasn't going to cause my parents no problems. I was going to be the people pleaser. You know, like, I was going to really just struggle with perfectionism and overachieving, and found a lot of worth in whatever I was achieving. And so I had to do a lot of work in therapy because I noticed in myself really struggling with having to make the sacrifices in my career because I wanted to be present with my children. And I, without resentment. And even trying to figure out whose career path we were going to follow, like, because we couldn't keep moving every, 2 years, experiencing a lot of resentment with that, because I attached my worth to achievement. And I did not want that for my kids, especially knowing like, okay, you got the anxiety too. And a lot of this stuff is genetic. So when we think that it's something wrong with this kid, 9 times out of 10, they ain't got it from you.
Right.
You know, but we really don't take tests before we procreate. So, we both got anxiety. We, then he has ADHD, and then we have the depression, and then you think about all the undiagnosed things in each of our lines that, one, the resources just weren't available. Nobody had money to go test nobody.
Right.
And figure out then the stigma of mental health.
Right.
Because you just need to fall in line. And then just the stigma of our culture just being strong.
Yeah.
Being strong means you push through.
Right.
You just have thick skin. You don't get to cry at the drop of every dime, and you just figure it out.
Yeah.
But that sometimes does not serve a lot of us well. And I just didn't want this to be something to where we look 10 years from now and you have thought about taking your life. You don't want to live anymore. It's been overwhelming, and it's too much, and it's too much pressure. And I think in having school-age children in today's time with just college admissions and everything that's going on with education, you don't have to do anything. The pressure's there.
It's there. It's there.
It's just there.
It's there. And I commend you for doing the therapy for her, doing the parenting classes with Brandon, because that is what encouraged me to get Nolan tested, to get a therapist for him, for us to get parenting classes. We went through a different provider than you did, but they said you have an intense child. And when you're parenting an intense child, you have to approach them differently. So the yelling and the why didn't you do that the first time I asked, when the child has ADHD, Nolan does the same as KK, has anxiety that comes from that, has the negative self-talk. You're like, I don't understand. But you have everything, but I don't get it. Why is this so difficult? You ain't met nothing in life. Life ain't happening for real. Like, you're just like, your job is to go to school and come home.
That's
like,
right.
I'm not understanding why everything is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Why are you crying? Why are you frustrated? And she showed us a video. And in that video, it was a mother yelling at her child that morning. And you can see the child like slowly like dying inside, right? You can see that every comment and everything was just negative. And then it was like, okay, so how do you expect for your child to show up at school today?
Right.
After you done yelled from the time they woke up until the time they left the house. And it was like, okay, so we got this workbook. And in that workbook, it has a page, 2 pages of positive words. And it's like, even if your child doesn't do the thing the first time, it's like if they're even moving toward the bathroom and you told them to go take a bath, it's like, I appreciate you for taking the initiative to start doing what I've asked you to do, instead of saying, why in the hell is it taking you so long to get to the bathroom?
Right. See, that
but
there.
even just that little thing,
just that little bit,
and not saying pacifying the child.
Right.
That's not
it's
what
different.
That's not what it was, but it was how you speak to an intense child, an anxious child, a child that questions everything is really important, because mentally their brain is wired in a certain way where the yelling and the screaming and the negative energy,
they don't hear anything.
They cannot process that in a healthy way. And so you have to communicate differently. And we have seen a change. We have seen a shift. And it used to be, boy, if you don't get up and we can tell he has changed.
Well, we asked Caitlin now, I mean, again, she's 13. We started this journey with her in first grade, but we asked her, like, what have you seen differently in us? Like, as we approach you, like, if you could go back and talk to your 6-year-old self, like, what would you say? She said, well, I will say, like, my parents really do love me. There were moments I didn't believe that.
Yeah.
And to hear her say that was like, you didn't believe I loved you?
And that is a real thing, because Nolan and I had a similar conversation of, he was like, I know y'all love me, but it just doesn't feel like y'all are happy with me.
That's it. That's it.
And I feel like I do everything wrong.
That's it.
And y'all don't yell at this child the way you yell at me.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking.
That is hard.
That is.
Right? And
It's
so
hard.
another facet too with multiple kids is they're different personalities, different likes, different triggers, different things. And I had to explain to him, I am going to paint, just like my mom told me with my brother. We love each other. We were both good kids, but we are the complete opposite.
That's right.
Complete opposite.
Yeah.
And I felt at one point that she favored him over me. And she was like, baby, no, your brother needs something different than what you need. I don't need to do that with you because you just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I felt like the time she was spending with him was like,
Right.
well, what?
Right.
Why? And it's like, no, I have to. She said, she heard on Oprah many, many years ago, a mother is only as happy as their least happy child.
That's right. That's right.
And so the energy that you put into that is different. You're parenting two different ways with two different children. And so it's perceived as though you favor that child over me, or you're not yelling at that one as much as you're yelling at me, or you're not spending as much time. And it's like, no, I'm trying to address different needs in the moment, right?
Yes.
And I had to explain the space that Taylor holds in my heart is a space that you and your brother can't fill.
Right.
That's her space.
Right.
The space that you have is your space, and they can't fill that space.
Right.
And Landon's is Landon's space, and you can't fill his space, and he can't.
And I'm trying to balance it all.
And I'm trying to figure it all out.
And my space.
Yeah, in my space.
And your daddy's space.
Yes. So it's that parenting
Yeah,
thing.
it's rough.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's rough. But you thank you, because without me hearing you are the resource queen. You are like, my child stumped a toe. Let me find somebody that deals with toe stumps. My child needs a ballet teacher. Let me go get a ballet teacher. You are really, really good with, like, you are the queen of, like, if I don't know what it is, I'm setting up a team. If she's not reading properly, let me get somebody that can help with language and reading, all of that. So thank you for that.
Of course.
All right. So
because my journey is very new. So I'm just absorbing like all of this good feedback. I do like listening to your story. I'm just really amazed, and thank you for coming to share it. I really commend you and your husband, because these are issues with kids that I'm like, really? And I have to be mindful of this for my kids, and even interacting with other kids in my family, because you touched a lot of points and things that I recognize, and I ask myself, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
When you see these conditions, it's like you have to know what to do to help, because this is totally different.
Yes, it's totally different. And I think I was sharing with you earlier that I was reading somewhere about how the time and age that we are trying to rear children now, with all this technology, all the shifts in the political climates, just religious climates, like just all that is going on in the world, there is no blueprint.
there's
Like my mom cannot fully advise me on how to handle this, because I didn't grow up with social media. I didn't grow up even really with cell phones. I think my first cell phone was at the end of high school. And it wasn't a smartphone.
No.
And so it is so many things that we are, all ages at all times, motherhood is on the job training.
It is.
But when you put in all these different facets that are happening as the world is rapidly changing, I cannot get the big head and think I have all the answers.
Right.
Yeah.
I need some help. Because I have gifts and I'm going to have talents and I'm going to think about certain things, but I'm God never expected me to be the expert in all things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But mothering was something I wanted to do well, right? Like being a wife, having a strong marriage was something that I wanted to do well. So if I want to do that well, then I need to get some help.
Yeah.
And I need to be willing to ask for help. I need to be transparent about the help that I'm getting. I need to be willing to share with my friends. I don't need to be hiding away. Oh yeah, girl, everything fine, girl.
That's
we good.
the thing.
My daughter made straight A's, and they just love her. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, no, girl.
Sharing your testimony helps.
Yeah. Girl, that school called me. I had to go up there. You know, you just because then people don't feel alone.
Absolutely.
And and they don't love your kid any less. They don't love you. And I feel like the gift of transparency has really allowed more people to come into my life than I even expected.
Yeah.
Because when you are transparent, people are yearning for that validation. They're not yearning for you to be perfect.
Yeah.
They're yearning for you to be honest.
And for you to be a safe space, right? Because
without
when I call
judgment.
Yes. When I call you, you're one of the first people I call
Yes.
when I'm dealing with an issue with my child.
Yes.
And it's like, T's gonna understand. She's gonna know. She's gonna be able to help me figure it out, or just listen to me cry. You know what I'm saying? And even you, even though you haven't gone through all of that, I call you for everything anyway. Even the other day, I was crying on the phone with her, and she asked a question, and I just started crying, and then I'm like, I'm sorry. She's like, friend, that's what I'm here for.
That's
like,
right. That's
you need people that you can be transparent about what your journey is as a parent, because that is hard. It's hard as hell, and you cannot do it by yourself.
No.
You need that. It takes a village.
That's right. That is real.
That is a real thing.
That is so it might not be like
It's a real
the
thing.
people next door. Like village is like your network.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I need a psychiatrist, I need a therapist. Like do I have a couple at the church? Like, do I have this? Do I have that? Like you need to be willing to have some mentors and also just some people to walk alongside you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, you got to be willing to accept it. Like you have to be willing to accept whatever they're willing to offer. And a lot of times, I will want to help people and but if they're not willing to take the help, then I can't fix it, because I got my own stuff.
Yeah.
Over here that
Yeah.
I'm trying to work through. And so that's when you plant seeds and you just let the Lord do what he's gonna do. Let it bloom.
Yeah.
Let it bloom.
And
Let it
which
bloom.
is what you guys are doing, right?
Let it bloom.
You're planting the seeds. You want to empower women, you want to help them. And what people do with this information
It's
is
up
up
to them.
Yeah.
and that's how it is with our kids.
Yeah.
We're gonna do all that we can, but we're raising adults.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we have to be willing to have the hard conversations at home with them, go through the hard stuff. So when they're not in my house and you are feeling depressed, you had a teacher that said something negative to you and you are spinning that negative self-talk. I don't want you to contemplate taking your life. I want you to think through your tools.
Yeah.
Let me
Right.
go journal.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get in with the therapist.
Right. Yeah.
Who's that person I can call and be honest with, and it's safe. I need you to have those good coping skills in your
Absolutely.
backpack.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Without shame.
Without
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah.
Without shame. Yes.
Oh, girl.
That was good, friend.
I have one more question for whoever wants to answer. How do either one of you ladies feel about medication? So we know that therapy for kids is hard for our community because we don't like getting therapy. So that's something that you guys have to overcome. What's your take on getting to the point of realizing that maybe your child needs medication to help with coping the anxiety?
That's a good question. So during the pandemic, when the kids came home and had to be schooled at home, that is when we first noticed that there were some challenges with Nolan. And we went and got him tested, and he was diagnosed with ADHD, and the pediatrician talked to us about different medications that they could prescribe, and we were against it. like very opposed to medication because we felt like he was too young. He was in the 2nd grade. And we were like, this is all new to us. We have never taken medication. We had never been diagnosed with ADHD or anxiety or anything like that. And so we were like, well, no, he's too young. After we continued to experience some of the challenges that we were experiencing and realizing, yeah, we can't just do this on our own. It probably took about 1.5 years until we decided, after reading a number of things, and I called on my mom because she is the research queen. If I need something, I'm like, Mama, can you look at this? And she was like, okay, this medication does this and this medication does this, and ask the doctor about this. And so I went with a list of questions. We went back and we talked to them, and we made the best decision medication wise for him. But we started him on the lowest dose possible. And we evaluated that for a month to see how he was adjusting. Actually, 2 months to see how he was adjusting. And when my husband and I were on the same page that we saw the improvement in him, in his affect, in his happiness, in the way he showed up, we said, okay, we are willing to make another adjustment. So we adjusted a little bit, and we kept him on that same dosage for a long time, but then he grows up, he gets bigger, his appetite changes. So we've adjusted medication. He's had 4 different dosages, and we have switched medication one time because we were like, we're seeing other things happening, like switching and different things that we were like, we don't like that. And so the medication that he's on now, again, is still not the highest dosage that he could have. But it works for him, and we've seen an improvement, and he made all A's, last term.
So you've seen
and
positive
and his confidence and his focus and his energy overall is really good.
Yay.
So I understand when people are hesitant to put their child on medication, but the brain is just like any other organ. If you have a heart condition, you're going to take heart medication.
Yeah.
If you have blood pressure problems, you're going to need blood pressure. And if he's young enough he or she is young enough to be diagnosed with something that's going on in the brain, then they may be at an age where they can get medication for it, right? And there are other therapies you can use and things, but medication works and it's there for a reason. And this is not new things. These are medications that have been tried and tested and observed and around for 50 years, right? Or more. And so it's worked for us. We were initially hesitant, but I say do your research, right? And find what works best and ask all the questions you need to ask of the provider to get yourself comfortable with that. But I think it was the best thing for him. And even now, he went to my friend's house the other night, and he came back and he brought his bag back. And I said, oh, you took your medication? He was like, yeah. So he took it without me telling him what to do. So, yeah.
Well, friend, you are amazing. And you're an amazing mom. I'm so proud of you. I know this was something new and different, but you handled that thing. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you for being
now
here.
Even having this conversation, I realize different ways that I can support you, and I understand a lot more. So thank both of you for sharing your story. And my friend loves you, and so I know you're amazing, Tia. So thank you, so much for coming to share your story.
Of course, thank you for having me.
We appreciate you.
I think you said something about how it's different kids and different things. I would like to also say is that we made the mistake of thinking like, okay, we gonna fix her, and this one's good. Like there's no problem here. This is gonna be my easy kid. And then, a wrench came about 1.5 years ago. And so I think as you go on this parenting journey, we're gonna be guilty of thinking that, oh, this kid is easier than that kid. Or they're going to be hard in different ways.
Yes.
And you have to balance when it's time to lean in, when you need them to try to figure it out, when it's time for medication, when it's not. Being willing to be open to having the conversation, taking some time in prayer to figure out what is the best next move for you. If anyone had mapped it out, I never would have dreamed that my second kid would have had anxiety, never experienced any anything that I thought was a trigger for anxiety. I mean, hindsight, looking now, is like, okay, yeah, she did have anxiety all along, but we weren't reading any of those things as anxiety, because that's not how they showed up in Caitlin.
Right.
It showed up different.
They showed up completely different. And so it's amazing for, just how you learn the human body, but to learn the brain.
Yeah.
And just how like same diagnosis will look different in everybody. How multiple symptoms could be diagnosed as one thing, but it could also be this thing. And we're all just trying to figure this out.
Yes.
And so offering people grace
Yeah.
and patience as they try to parent their kid the best way. I mean, I know now when I'm in the grocery store and I see someone that's really struggling with their kid, there's no judgment. None. It's like, ooh, Lord, moment of silence.
Yeah.
I remember that day.
I remember.
Yes. I remember, walking away from Caitlin and Kroger, on Moreland, and being like, what are you doing? What is happening? Calling Brandon like, I don't know a 3-year-old that acts like this. Like, what? Just remembering like, this is hard.
It's
and
hard.
it is going to go to the next level, the next level, the next level. But just always being willing to learn.
Yeah.
And really embracing being able to pivot when you need to. That is finding the right environments for your kid, especially when it comes to schooling, especially when it comes to other organizations and other people that you want in their circle to support them. Kids don't want to be different.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
They don't want to be different.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they have a community and they can fall in line with everybody else. And so being able to shape that in them at a young age is just so important. So the sooner that parents can accept, I don't know how to do this, and seek help, the better.
Yeah. I agree.
I love it.
And one resource that I'd like to share. So when I was going through my parenting journey, for any parent that has a child that suffers from anxiety or ADHD, or just has a level of intensity about them, whatever the condition may be, we had this Transforming the Intense Child workbook that we worked through. And it is a really, really good resource for how to truly engage with your child on a level that resonates best for them, and gives you really good tips and tools for supporting them in your parenting style. And so I highly recommend it for anybody that's interested in it. You can find it, online. But it was a really good resource for my husband and I, and we really, really appreciated walking through this workbook together in parenting our baby. So, all righty. Well, we appreciate you, Bloom fam. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes. All righty. Bye.